Hey guys, what's up? This is Jay Shady coming at you with another video, and this is going to be about how there's just way too much WWE, way too much overexposure of the product, and how it's just way too much for any fan to handle. I don't care if you're a diehard fan, this shit is just too much to handle. So join me while it tells you a little story about my day and the way things were when I was growing up. So I started watching wrestling around maybe the end of 1996, the beginning of 1997, pretty much the end of the new generation era, a little bit before the Attitude Era officially started. So when I was growing up, at that time when I first started, there was Raw, there was Shotgun Saturday, there was the In Your House pay-per-views, and then there was your bigger main pay-per-views. And then the Attitude Era came along, you added Sunday Night Heat, you changed the In Your House pay-per-views to their own pay-per-views, and then you added Velocity, and then a bunch of other shows that came and went, but clearly not nearly enough the exposure as there is today, which is the most ironic part, because this is probably the most stale period of wrestling that I have ever seen in my lifetime. This is the most dry and stale product I've seen, yet this is when WWE chooses to overexpose themselves and create a shitload too much shows presenting whatever they have to present. It just doesn't make sense. Let's look at what we have in this day and age. We have Raw, we have NXT, we have Main Event, we have Superstars, we have SmackDown, then we have Saturday Morning Slam, then we have pay-per-views, YouTube pre-shows, then they want us to tweet this, tout this, Shazam this, way too much. And then they have the WWE app where you're supposed to connect with it and see what happens during commercials, and see they have their own YouTube channel, WWE, Superstars' own shows on there. We got fucking the WWE Network coming out. When is enough enough? There's clearly not enough good product to be presenting all these different forms of it, yet this is what we're getting, and it's making WWE fans just want to alienate themselves from the product. It's just too much to handle. When there's too much to handle, people say, fuck it, I'm not even going to keep up anymore. That's just what it comes down to. I mean, look at the way they've been expanding themselves, and look at how the ratings have dropped. It's just way too fucking much, and it's not good for the product at all. There's nothing unique about WWE anymore. You don't see it in mainstream, which is the ironic part, but WWE, that's what they're trying to go for, but they will never be mainstream unless they totally change their product again to somehow something unique, the way it was in the Attitude Era. Yet they're not mainstream, yet they're overexposing their product like this, which doesn't make sense to me whatsoever at all. The only time I could see you using this was probably best at the beginning of the Ruthless Aggression Era, when you had a shitload of talent, a huge roster with a shitload of depth, where you couldn't even have Raw and SmackDown be the same show. You had to split it because there was just way too much fucking talent to show off on one show. The Ruthless Aggression Era, we're talking about around 2002 to like 2004, 2005. That was the best time to have all this new shit, so that you could show off and showcase your talent. Because today there's clearly not enough talent to even make one fucking show exciting. Sitting through one Raw feels like a chore already as it is. I mean, while you get maybe 2-3 exciting segments, and the other 2.5 hours are complete shit. So they can't even make one show good or even mediocre, yet they're giving us 6-7 other shows, plus a million different things on apps and touts and tweets and networks and all this shit. It just doesn't make sense. Vince is just really going overboard with this egomaniacal, just trying to take over everything and act like WWE is a relevant product when it clearly isn't. They just need to strip the WWE down to its bare essentials again. Raw, SmackDown, pay-per-views, and work on that, and work your way up from that. Just focus on that for the meantime. You could also have NXT, because I think NXT is good for showcasing young talent, but clearly a lot of this shit has to go. A lot of this excess just needs to be stripped down and taken away, and WWE really needs to focus on its core again, which is mainly Raw and SmackDown, because you see the poor fucking performance, because they're pretty much just branching themselves out way too much. I mean, you have fucking WWE Studios, you have all this WWE stuff, yet it's not relevant WWE. If they want to do this, make yourselves relevant. Another thing this does is it gives us the same old matches every single week, week in and week out, the same rematches. You'll have one match on Raw, and then Friday Night on SmackDown you have the same exact match between the same exact competitors, or vice versa, you'll have a match on SmackDown and have the same exact match on Raw. Now I want to look at something in the past. Let's look at Shawn Michaels versus Bret Hart. Now when you think of Shawn Michaels versus Bret Hart, you think a controversial, classic, one of the greatest rivalries of all time in the sport. And when you think of those two, you think a lot of focus at that time was put on both of these guys. Yet, in an almost 2-year span, in a singles match, in a main event spot, they only locked up twice for 2 matches. From WrestleMania 1996 to Survivor Series of 1997, only 2 matches between these guys. Could you imagine WWE doing something like that in this day and age? Besides Rock Cena, but that's just because Rock is a part-time wrestler. But we have like something like, you want to compare this to something like CM Punk versus Daniel Bryan, where this is a great matchup that everybody wants to see, yet we get CM Punk versus Daniel Bryan 3-4 pay-per-views in a row, and even on some Raws. It takes away the specialty of it. It takes away the uniqueness of it, and that's what was great about Shawn Michaels versus Bret Hart. So much focus on these two, yet only 2 matches in the main event spot in an almost 2-year period. I like to compare the mentality of main event booking back then to the mentality of booking boxing matches. It was very much like booking boxing matches in that, where in boxing you have a champion or competitor that only fights every few months, so it's very rare that you see a rematch of the 2 same competitors. So every time there is a rematch or even a first matchup, it feels special because you don't see that much of it. You know this might be the only time you see it. Look at Tyson versus Holyfield. Every time Tyson versus Holyfield fight, it's special because you know you're not going to see many of these matches, or something like Mickey Ward versus Arturo Gatti, that trilogy. Every match was special because you know that there isn't going to be plenty of these, and that's how it was back then. You knew every championship match between 2 legends was special because there wasn't that much of the product. All you had was Raw, In Your House pay-per-views and the other pay-per-views, so you couldn't have the same matches over and over again just because you had to give your competitors new contenders. So very rarely we got those same one-on-one matches that we get today, and that's what WWE is lacking. It's lacking that specialty. I would love to see CM Punk versus Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania if they didn't fight fucking 5-6 other times in 2012. It takes away everything from it that makes it unique. So let me know what you think about WWE maybe spreading themselves a little too thin and overexposing themselves. Let me know if you think it's just too much for them to handle, if it's too much as a fan for you to handle, if you like it, what you watch, what you don't. Personally, I cannot keep up with it. All I can watch are Raw and pay-per-views, especially for somebody who works and goes to school. I just cannot do anything more than watch Raw and pay-per-views, yet WWE wants me to watch Raw, they want me to watch SmackDown, they want me to watch Main Event, they want me to watch Saturday Morning Slam, then they want me to go on the internet and watch Superstars, they want me to watch NXT, and then before pay-per-view they want me to go on the internet and watch a YouTube pre-show, then they want me to pay for the pay-per-view on TV and watch the pay-per-view on TV, they want me to download the app, they want me to tout, tweet, Shazam. Just too much. When is enough enough? That's all I want to know. When is enough enough, and what do you think WWE should do to put themselves back into a core product and make themselves a smaller product where we can actually keep up with? What do you think should stay? What do you think should go? Let me know what you think. Thank you for watching. I'm Jay Shady and I'm out. Peace.